talk week 9. It is Dallas on the road against Atlanta. The odds ever-changing as of filming on Thursday. Atlanta -3 that opened at -2. Over-under now jumped up to 51.5. It opened more in the 48s, 49 ranges. So Dallas is the road dog, as they should be. They haven't played well this year. Atlanta has played well as of late, and they've played a lot of one-score games for Atlanta. Wouldn't be surprised if that one happened again. Some injuries to watch. Not feeling great about DaRon Bland and Micah Parsons. We'll see if Trevon Diggs and his calf can go. He's missed some practice this week. I think feel better about Linval Joseph, Zach Martin than where I was on Wednesday, but still some days of practice to go. We obviously film these on our Thursday live show, so we'll monitor how things go Friday, how things go Saturday before the Sunday game. The Falcons seemingly mostly healthy as well. Justin Simmons, a hamstring, but he was limited on Wednesday, progressing in the right direction. See about the concussion for J.D. Bertrand. Those are always dicey. Chris Lindstrom has been a bit banged up. Also, much like Zach Martin, not playing at the high level that he used to be. Those are two of the best right guards in the NFL. Not playing the same way that they used to, which has been a bit of a surprise this season. And then Ruka Rororo tweaked his ankle last week. Questionable at best going into the weekend for the Cowboys. For the Falcons, I should say, against the Cowboys. Let's talk matchups to watch here. Number 1, Rico Dowdle and the inside running game against the Falcons' run defense. Now, if you've watched our show for a while, you know that I've had this as a pretty common complaint. I don't like the Cowboys' love of them, in their own words now, tight inside zone. That tight zone run scheme, I think, sucks. Here's the thing. The Falcons are not good at stopping runs up the middle. Here are the advanced numbers from NFL Pro, their next-gen stats. They faced 14th most inside runs this season. Despite that, they are allowing the 28th most yards per game up the middle, the 27th yards per carry, so they're bottom there, around league average in explosive runs, around league average in stuff rate. They're near the bottom in EPA per carry, 29th in yards before contact, 11th in yards after contact, and they do it with light boxes. They're not really stacking the box very much. So for a team that wants to run the ball up the middle, this is a game that the opposing team isn't good at stopping that. The problem is you don't run the ball well up the middle. You have the second most inside runs from a rate perspective this year in the NFL. You are 29th in yards per carry. You don't generate explosive runs. You don't get stuffed very much, but it's all just 1 and 2 yard runs. It's all like you're getting 2. You're getting 3. It's all this team gets on these inside runs. They're not good at before contact, not good after contact, and they are facing some of the most advantageous boxes in football. Opposing teams have said, you can't run the ball on us. We dare you to. And the bet's been right. Cowboys have been unable to run the football. Even when they're getting a light box 62.6% of the time. That's insane. You should be able to run the ball in that front. Cowboys aren't getting it. Well, they check into those inside runs. Hasn't worked well at all. Pin comments on today's show. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Atlanta Falcons? If you can't run the ball on the inside this week, you're just never going to be able to. But overall, your confidence level, let me know. 1 to 10. Matchups to watch. Number 2. It is the Cowboys blitzes against Kirk Cousins. And it's a 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins game. This might be a Kirk O'Chains game. Against the blitz so far this year, he's at 40.67 or 40 of 67 attempts and targets, or completions and targets. That's under 60%, averaging 6.5 yards per attempt. But he's only taken 1 sack this year. Now, quick pressure has happened on about a third of his blitzes so far this season. And the Cowboys, since Micah Parsons went out of the lineup, are tied for the highest rate in the NFL when blitzing for sacks. 17.1% sack rate when blitzing since week 5 is tied for the NFL's best. It is the only way they can get pressure. They're going to have to bring some blitzes again in this one. Couple things about your offense that have struggled this year do set up well against the Falcons. One of them is your offensive line against what is one of the worst pass rushes, in fact, is the worst pass rush in football. The Atlanta Falcons are dead last in both sack rates, and they are dead last in pressure rates. Even when blitzing, it's not much better. They get a little bit more pressure and a little bit more sack results. They don't do a good job. Matthew Judon looks a bit more like a good player, not a great player. Grady Jarrett shown sign of decline. They're not getting home at all. So if your offensive line, if they can't hold up, Guyton, Smith, Beebe, Martin, Steele, if they can't hold up against the Falcons, you're in bad shape. This offensive line, frankly, in both the ground game and the passing game, they should be able to do some mauling. They should be able to look like some of the Cowboys' offensive lines of old. That front they're facing is not good. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. They've added the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. You can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. They also offer Venmo, by the way, now, for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. No flex play on this one, but I'm riding my boy Harrison Graham's picks here. More than on the rushing yards for Caleb Williams and Kyler Murray in what could be a really good afternoon football game between the Bears and the Cardinals. Download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. With the offensive line, in theory, doing a better job, you need your overall passing attack to show up against this Falcons pass defense. The Falcons offense is really good. This game in general strikes me as the type of game where if you don't score 30, you're not going to win the football matchup, which is very concerning because that's how the quarterback is pressed this year. That's why, because it's felt like that in a lot of these games. I got to score 30 or 35 or we're just not going to win. And that's a bad mindset to have. It's the right mindset, but it's bad. It's the snowball effect of like you're going to press, you're going to force stuff. I think that's been the issue for Dak this year. Even more so than previous years, the interceptions are more concerning because not like they're getting drops. I mean, there were drops too, but not on the interceptions for the most part. He's pushed too much. He's pressed too much. Now, great note here from Next Gen Stats. The Falcons defense has allowed 14 catches on 18 passes over 10 yards in that middle third of the field through 8 weeks this season. They allowed 13 all last season, which was the best in the NFL. So the Falcons are not that good on the dig route, on the seam shot route. And unfortunately, your quarterback has also regressed in this area. Now, last year on all 10 to 19-yard throws, that middle third of the field stuff, in both downfield and in the middle, 59% last year, 9.6 yards per attempt, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was dealing in that area of the field. The seam shots to Ferguson and Lamb, the deep digs were open pretty frequently. They've not been there this year. Now, teams have sat on it more, but they've stopped calling the seam shot to Jake Ferguson, and Dak is splitting 50% of those throws. It's down. 9.2 yards per attempt, down. 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 4 of them have come on that 10-plus yards in the middle of the field. Hasn't been good enough. Full stop. Now, the schematics suck. O-line is all accurate, too. I want to make that clear. Got to be better. Got to be better. So, will the Cowboys offense wake up this week? They should. If they don't, this is going to be a dicey year, I think. Y for yes and for no in the comments of today's show. Number 5, it is the interior of your defensive line against backup center Ryan Newsill. There's no Drew Dahlman, who was playing really well before he went down and it was placed on IR. But the interior D-line for the Cowboys has been pretty bad. I am waiting on the Osa Odigizua breakout game. I had thought he was going to have a big-time contract year, right? No, he hasn't had it. Carlos Watkins is a jag, as in just a guy. It's a very insulting phrase. Linval Joseph, Miles Smith have not played well up front. Falcons' interior O-line is not great. That's why they're going to get to the edges. You got to get some penetration from Osa and Mozzie and these guys and force some changes because the Falcons want to run the ball to the outside. They're going to get Bijan going. DTs have to hold up better because that's a bad matchup for you. That Cowboys run defense against Bijan and company, bad. Now, we'll be live for the Cowboys against the Falcons. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. Our stream will start at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Kickoff's at 1 p.m. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Number 5, Jordan Lewis is our 5th player to watch. And I'm gonna do something different here. I'm going to do Jordan Lewis and insert tight end stopper together, which maybe is Donovan Wilson. I would kind of like to see Donovan Wilson get benched, frankly. But that's a conversation we've had already. I don't want to rehash it here. The Atlanta Falcons have the most used personnel grouping in all of football. They run 3 receivers, 11 personnel, almost 91% of the time. There's no real creativity in their personnel packages. It is, we're putting 3 receivers out there, putting Drake London, putting Kyle Pitts for the most part, putting Darnell Mooney, we'll put some Ray McLeod out there. We're going to run 3 receivers all game long, and we're going to see if you can stop us. And the answer's been mostly can't be stopped. Now, the offense has been pretty basic this year. I don't mean that in a negative way, but they do the stuff that they're good at. They go under center. The only under center pass they've had is play action. There's been 0 straight dropbacks from under center. It is all play action when they do it. So it's a tell. Haven't been able to stop them really so far this year. I've been issue against better defense. Not a better defense, though. One thing the Falcons will do, which you will see, the Falcons do, I call it flip motion. It's the changing of the slot. I don't know what the actual terminology is. It's barely even motion. But you'll see the Cowboys have done it some too. They stole it this year from teams like Atlanta. You'll see kind of like a bunch formation or even just 2 receivers on one side. And they'll put like Darnell Mooney in the slot or Ray McLeod in the slot to start when they break the huddle. And Drake London on the outside. And then what they'll do before the snap, they'll flip London to the slot or they'll put the other guy on the outside. And it changes your rules on defense late and you have to adjust. And it is the slots where the Falcons have some of their most passing success. Drake London has 27 catches for 327 yards and 3 scores in the slot this year. In fact, 57% of his targets have come from the slot. He's been a great power slot for Atlanta. Kyle Pitts, who just had maybe his best game in a long time, gets a lot of slot work as well. 17 catches for 212 yards and 3 scores out of the slot. Well, guess what? Jordan Lewis is not a great matchup for Drake London out of the slot because Jordan Lewis is your more prototypical nickel corner. Drake London is 6'4", 220. So are you going to shadow Diggs? You're going to do a bunch more, if he can play, you're going to do a bunch more man coverage stuff? Do you try to do a lot of zone? How do you handle that? Because I watched Donovan Wilson get smoked on crossing routes by George Kittle. How are you going to handle Kyle Pitts in that fashion? Is it Wanye Thomas time? Is it Marquise Bell time? You got to make some changes here, guys. You can't play Donovan Wilson again. I hope they bench him. I feel bad saying it, but he's been bad. So will the Cowboys start Donovan Wilson? S for start, B for bench. Number 3, it is Terence Steele. I take personal offense to the way that Terence Steele was played these past 2 weeks because I defended him. I said, hey, he has not played that bad the way that some people feel he has. He had a rough game against the Saints. He's been showing progress. He had a bad rep against TJ Watt, even though he was on an island. I would argue his 2 worst games of the year have come since I backed him and said he's not playing that bad. He was bad against the Lions, bad against the 49ers. Now, why exactly you keep putting him on an island for 3 straight weeks against, even 4 against the Giants too, technically, against those pass rushers, I don't really know. But the Falcons aren't as good as on the pass rush. I need Terence Steele to show up. He has to play well for me, or else the O-line's going to have major issues again. Number 2 player to watch, CeeDee Lamb. And to an extent, Diggs or Lamb kind of said, "We're back, baby," which I also don't disagree with. He was really good against the Niners. He showed up in a pretty major way. There was a moment I'm like, "Oh God, here we go again with some of the body language stuff," but then he rebounded. It was awesome. He needs to get fed. I kind of appreciated the sheer volume of targets that went his way. Keep doing that. They got him involved in the second half of a game for the first time all year, it felt like. Do more of that. Let the Falcons don't put A.J. Terrell in the slot. Put him some more on the slide. Put him a lot on the outside this year, but got to show up. I think he's a good pick for first touchdown by the Cowboys. Who scores the first touchdown this week for the Cowboys? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number one player to watch is Chauncey Golston. You're not going to have Micah. Golston's actually played pretty well, especially relative to expectations. He is clearly better than some of your other pass rushers, which the bar is so low, it doesn't mean that much. He's got to have another good game. There's a couple plays you're going to go, there's Golston again. There's Golston again. He's making plays. He needs help because he's not supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be the guy who helps, right? But again, this week, be a great week to have some more big plays on setting the edge on the outside and getting some pressures. I think he's played well, especially relative to expectations, but there's a lot more that's still needed here.